Okay, hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Gosu Academy. Today I'm super excited because I've kind of, for the first time in a couple of months, created a new Counter-Strike theory. I know some people quite liked the Cone of Awareness that I made previously. I had the Follow the Traffic theory. I think people liked that one as well. I think maybe there was one more theory that I'm not so sure about. But today, I've come up with a new theory. Or not, I didn't come up with it today, but I've created a new theory. And yeah, again, super excited to share it with you guys because I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think it is I call it almost like a blueprint for how to play Counter-Strike on the T side on almost all maps. It's kind of going to just give you a better understanding of when to call what or when to do what, depending on your opponent. I'll get more into that in just a moment. What I want to say real quick is if you would like to ask your own questions or, request your own, what's it called? Like your own topics for the Gosu Academy, there's a link in the description where you can try it out for 1 month for free. I'm one of, I believe, 3 coaches and we do weekly sessions, so if that's something for you. On top of this, I do believe that because I missed last week due to obligations with my team, I will be doing a double session next week. I'm not quite sure when, but I think it might be Monday and Thursday. So, yes, I guess for you guys watching this, maybe you will see it after I've done the double week. Anyway, let's get into it because I'm super, super excited. So, basically, I have been... actually, before we start completely, just want to say about trying it for 1 month, it's non-binding. If you don't like it, you get your money back. Very important. And you help out me and yeah, the Gosu Academy by signing up. So that's pretty important. Okay, so my team has recently had a lot of officials, like ridiculously many officials. Think one official every day for like 2.5 weeks. And the issue that happens when you kind of have this many officials is that you lose sort of track of doing the right things, and instead you think more about how do we win matches. That doesn't sound like a bad thing, and it kind of doesn't have to be, but we ended up, or well, more particularly, I will take all the responsibility on this one. I ended up thinking about Counter-Strike in a very simple manner in terms of like, do I think the CTs are stacking A, or do I think the CTs are stacking B? If we would go A 3 times in a row, we would win, then I would be like, okay, now it's good to go B, because they are probably not stacking B. And whilst this is definitely true, that kind of sort of playstyle of reading the game, depending on what you've done previously, is what I would call momentum calling. So, momentum calling is something that I think is only really possible when you are actually winning. Say you go A 3 times in a row, you win, well, the CTs are going to lean more heavy on A. But say I go A 3 times in a row and it doesn't work any of the times, the CTs are kind of in a way more likely to lean B. Because they know we just lost on A, and the likelihood of us going A again is probably smaller instead of greater. So momentum calling is great if your team is winning. But the issue that my team had is we were very bad at the end at defaulting. And the reason we got bad at that was because we had a lot of anti-strat on our opponents, and we had a very big playbook. The problem with having a big playbook is that sometimes you get into the issues of making a call from spawn every round, and this is something that we sought out to fix. So we kind of neglected mid because we were afraid of playing defaults. Like, we just have not practiced it enough lately, and we haven't been using it in official matches. So we were, bad at defaulting. And this is kind of when I came up with this new theory that I called the terrorists diamond. So this name might not make that much sense. I can try to draw my thinking in paint soon enough. But basically, all you gotta know is instead of thinking of or let me start a little bit differently. We had a few days off, and I was thinking, okay, I have been thinking way too much about are they stacking A or are they stacking B? So the first thing I did was thinking, okay, what if we assume that middle is a third bomb site, right? Imagine that, you know, we've been hitting A and then we've been hitting B and stuff like that. Eventually the space will be in mid, because if we constantly just do set strats on the sites, then teams are going to stack heavy sites. That's what we lost to, and that's when middle is great to use. Issue is we didn't really know how to default. We were at least not comfortable doing it in official, and I realized that just thinking about middle as a third bomb site was not enough for me to win, basically. So I've come up with this thing that I call the Terrorist's Diamond, and I've basically, just like the Cone of Awareness, I've come up with 4 kind of different ways to think of a CT team. I will give you an example. So when we played against a team called Guild, I've touched on this briefly in one of my previous Gosu sessions. What they did was they played heavy sites. They stacked a Shadow, or they were Sandwich, or they were like a Nuke corner or something like this. And so when we were hitting heavy sites, when we were going with our set strats on A, they always had an extra man here and we would die. It seems kind of obvious, but the answer to this was going middle, which we started doing later in the match, and we did still lose, but at least people stacking sites, you gotta play mid against them. That's kind of obvious, right? Well, we kind of ran into the same problem against a Big in the same tournament. And what was different about how Big played it was that when Guild were playing on A and we were going up through connector and splitting, they wouldn't really move. They would stay in their positions, and it would give us a really good chance to kill someone under Shadow, someone Sandwich, or someone Nuke corner. By them stacking A, but not kind of switching their positions in the mid round, made it so splitting was super powerful. But against Big, whenever we took mid with 4, what they did was they were pushing slope or they were pushing apps. So whilst the teams had the same general game plan, which was let's stack heavy on the sides, they did it in a very different manner. And this was something that made me come up with kind of the first part of the theory. What if, instead of thinking of should we go A or should we go B, which is obviously a super simple way of thinking about it, how can we incorporate mid? So I changed it to, are the CTs playing heavy sides or heavy mid? This way, we kind of, with this question, incorporate middle. So not only do we think about A and B...
You muted yourself.
Did I mute myself?
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, it's... Okay, yeah, thank you. Wait, let me try something real quick. Okay, not sure what happened there. But thank you. Basically, instead of thinking about it as A or B, I kind of put the sides together in one category, which is just called sides, and then we had mid, right? This doesn't sound that extraordinary, but I promise I'm building to something. So now my question became, okay, are the CTs playing heavy sides, or are they playing heavy mid? And then what I realized is that there's obviously different ways of playing heavy sides, and there's different ways of playing heavy mid. For example, it's possible for teams to start mid, and then even if there's just a slight pressure from the CTs stay, and they want to fight for mid until they gain full control of mid, and then they leave it. There are also teams where the goal is to just go out, figure out, is it a heavy mid default, and if it isn't, then they maybe retract and try to stack the sides because they're expecting a push. This is kind of, I think, the beauty of this Terrorist's Diamond is not only did I split it up into heavy sides or heavy mid, I split it up into another category called are the CTs reactive or static? are the CTs moving or are they not moving? Basically, are they static or are they dynamic? So I will write this as well. So I have come up with this terrorist's diamond, and the idea is there are kind of 4 scenarios. There's heavy sides static, there's heavy sides reactive, there's heavy mid static, and there's heavy mid reactive. This might not make much sense for you right now, but understanding which playstyle your opponents are doing will help you understand what you need to call or what you need to do. This is where I'm talking about this kind of blueprint. By understanding this terrorist's diamond theory, you will know what is good against what, basically. Let's take the example of guild who are playing heavy sides static, right? I talked about it already, but if you have CTs who stay in shadow, stay in sandwich and stuff like this, I mean, I think everyone who's played Face It will have had a situation where they are playing shadow and Ts are splitting up connector and running bench. This is such a big advantage for the Ts because most of the time there are multiple people running here. The CT can't really move much. This wall is spammable. And the CT is just destroyed. Same with sandwich. You can obviously go on this wall, but it's rare that you will multi-kill from here. And if the T's split in a good way, well then they will have a palace lurk that will check this wall, or they will have a ramp lurk who will be going up and maybe holding CT, whatever. And say you, a sandwich player, now killed a ramp player, boom. Well, hopefully sandwich gets traded by one of the people running bench. And ultimately, it is hard to multi-kill from these positions when you are playing a heavy sides static setup where T's are splitting through mid. On the other hand, when you play against a team like Big that we played against, who I see as a heavy sides reactive team, or at least they were in this match they played against us because that was their game plan. What they did was, if we didn't do a set strat on A or B, well, the ramp player would start pushing ramp or pushing palace and got into a one-on-one fight with our A lurk, right? In this case, where teams are playing heavy sides but reactive, I have come up with the solution to leave a lurk, basically. So, just to explain the difference here, say we go out, we have window smoke, whatever, we have done top gun smoke, and now we have mid control. Well, in the case where we want to split mid, we are playing against a team like Guild, or we are playing against a team that's playing heavy side static. What we'll probably be doing is we'll come over here, whatever, we will do, jungle smoke, and now with this jungle smoke we're going out, we're splitting, and we're destroying the shadow player, the sandwich player, and, the Nuke corner player, even if, again, the Nuke corner player kills the lurk. Well, we should hopefully have a Molotov to clear out Nuke corner, or maybe whatever, we have already taken CT, and it's, again, kind of hard from this position, if you're known, to multi-kill, right? But in the event that you play against a team like Big, who will react when you take mid by pushing on the extremities of the map, what is, in fact, well, at least what is, according to the theory that I've created, the better solution is doing the exact same, but instead of splitting up connector, you just leave one player in connector, right? What is good about leaving a player against people who play heavy sides reactive? Well, it is because not only do you gain the advantage of if this A player pushes ramp or pushes palace, well, this A player who is reacting to the mid take is going to meet the majority of the team retracting back into spawn. So, in the event that we split up connector, in let's say a 1-4 split with 4 coming connector and 1 from A, for an A player, taking this one-on-one duel might be worth it. But in the event that we instead do it as a sort of 4-1 split where we only leave one connector and the 3 others go back to spawn, well, whoever is pushing slope here will meet probably 3 players rotating back and will kill the person pushing and will then have kind of free passage towards A. Not only is this good because you have kind of man advantage against this player pushing, even if they were to push with 2, if you are 3 people rotating back in spawn, you still have man advantage in the duel. And if you get these kills, you can start doing utility. Again, against a reactive team, they will likely try to go and fill up the gaps that have been left by their players. And that's when the person that you have left in con can have massive impact by either coming here and killing whatever jungle, or maybe just staying inside con, and then when the short player comes out and jumps down into con, you step out from your hiding spot and you kill the player. And now you punish them for being reactive, right? So instead of splitting on them and abusing the fact that they are not moving, you are taking space and falling back into, T-slope or T-apps. And by doing so, you punish the reacting player who is pushing on A after the mid control. Does this kind of make sense so far?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. That's the goal. So going to the other side of the diamond, or at least the way I picture this, that I haven't drawn in paint yet, but I have it fresh in my mind. The middle of the diamond, which is about the mid, we're talking about teams who are playing heavy mid static and heavy mid reactive, right? Now, I think this part is a little bit easier to explain, but obviously when we play against if I know that my opponents are playing heavy mid, well then the answer is go to the sides, right? If I see the A player is always playing alone, or the B player is always playing alone, well, going to the bomb side is much smarter than fighting the 3 players who are actively fighting mid. That is when, again, we get into the situation of, I would say before the game plan changed from big, they were a heavy mid static team. From watching their demos and doing anti-strat on them, I saw that almost every round the A player was playing alone, and on top of this, they had 3 players playing mid, and they only ever rotated off. Like if the Ts would do a top mid smoke, the only way that the CTs would ever rotate off from mid would be if they would get just for the sake of teaching you the lineup, you can go up here, you can put your cursor here, and run, and run and molo. As soon as they had this Molotov up, that is when, okay, now they could leave mid, because they know no one can be behind boxes, and the top mid smoke is not that dangerous on its own, right? And that is when they started going back towards A. So against a team like this, who kind of, as a default, have a lot of focus on playing mid, but play it in a way where they don't leave it until they know that they have cleared out mid. This is what I would argue is a heavy mid static team. It doesn't really matter what you do in mid. You need to just do the bare minimum, the minimum pressure for them to hang around in mid, and then you can win. So against this type of team, who is static, I argue that just like, I'll just revisit it, heavy sides static, the answer should be splitting through mid. A heavy sides reactive team leaving a lurk. Well, a heavy mid static team, you wanna set strat on the sides, right? So you want to do fake mid pressure, like just, let's say, a top mid smoke. You want to come here, you want to do a Molotov, whatever, in connector. And after you've done this, that's actually enough. Now you can do a set strat on A, and you know you're playing against an A player who's alone. If you instead play against a team that is heavy mid reactive, well, this is a team who is playing in mid, but when I say reactive, I mean a team who is rotating fast, basically. Or in any other way reacting to what you do. Against a team who starts mid, but is over-rotating or fast at rotating. Say, I do very limited mid pressure, right? Let me buy actually some flashes. I do basic mid pressure, I do top mid smoke, I do molocon. Now they are whatever doing smoke, and they are coming out here, and imagine that they again have this Molotov, whatever. if I know that the A player is playing alone, because they are a heavy mid team, and I know they are reactive. An example would be if I do up and down smokes now. If I know that the con player on these two smokes will always basically just full knife, run back, do molo here, flash over bench, and just swing through. Which would probably be the case with a lot of CIS teams, like super reactive, wanting to fight, over rotating, taking risk. Against this type of team, I would argue you want to do against a heavy mid reactive team some kind of fake. The reason being that if you fake basic mid pressure by doing smoke top mid and molo con, now they are unaware of what's going on in mid. If you know both of the players on the sides are playing alone, it can be super valuable to do a small fake on, for example, A, and with the players in mid being reactive, they will over rotate, come over, block, go through smokes, over fight this area, which leaves the B player not only alone, it's also possible the B player will leave a good position like top of belt or be moving to a more safe position, but it will also cause any rotations towards the B side to be very delayed. If you try to fake against a team which is heavy mid static, well, this is probably not going to go as well for you. An example of a heavy mid static team would be typically favorites, or typically teams who are at the moment playing very well. When making this theory in my head, I was thinking, okay, if you would be playing against Astralis in their era, it doesn't matter if you do fake mid pressure and do a small A fake. Sipix is not going to move because he knows he can trust his teammates to hold the side. But if you play against, worse players with worse communication, with less trust in the teammates, it is possible that this B player, when he has a little bit mid pressure and now an A execute, will jump one time and will leave B and try to overroad to A. And when the information comes in that it's not actually A, this player has already moved to a position where you have the upper hand. And not only that, every single rotation that could help B has now been pulled further towards the other side. So just to have it all on text, heavy sides static, the goal should be to split through mid. Heavy sides reactive, you want to leave a lurk. You basically want to do kind of a small fake to give the player in the lurk position space. And after this, because, if it's a heavy sides reactive team, the person who is lurking should be able to find people who are reacting on trying to help. Heavy mid static, a set strat on the sides is good because the heavy mid players won't be that fast at rotating over or will still be stuck in forward positions in mid, so will have a slow rotation. Whereas a heavy mid reactive team, some kind of fake is good, because typically what a heavy mid reactive team will do is they will come out, they will do the molo early, they will see, okay, it's not mid default, they will leave, and they will kind of go closer to the bomb sites. If you now, before they make it back to the bomb sites, do a small A fake, I am pretty sure that the short player is going to move closer to mid, since he knows it's not mid default, he doesn't need to worry that much, which leaves the B player stranded, and this is now where the space is. This is the theory that I have of the terrorist's diamond, and basically it's just putting into words what is the best kind of tactic. I'm not teaching you any specific tactic. I'm not teaching you, what you have to call in every single scenario. What I'm teaching you is understanding the blueprint of what opponent you are playing against. Now, if you are a team at a decent level, or even just a team trying to make it big, doing limited anti-strat on your opponents and trying to figure out if they, which category they fit in, will help you a lot with understanding what kind of tactics would be best for you to choose. If you have a playbook of 5 tactics and you play, let's say, against a team which is playing heavy side static, well, doing super fast, A-pops is likely not going to give you much success because you're playing into exactly their setup. But even for someone like me who has been playing this game, I just checked, I'm like nearing 15,000 hours. I'll probably reach it next week or something like this. And also having, 3,500 hours in CS2, so having played the game professionally and stuff like that, I have never ever thought to put this into simple sentences. And the fact that I've now been able to do it will hopefully act as tools so that I can now, no matter which opponent, have a decent idea of what is best to do against my opponents. Now, if you play against a good team, or in general just any team, if let's say I see from anti-strat that they like to play heavy sides static, and we every single time split on them through mid, well, hopefully, if it's a good team, they will at some point adapt, right? Let's say instead of playing heavy side static, their answer is, guys, they take mid from us every single round. We need to do something. Let us overfight mid and try to win the round in mid, right? That would be a possible reaction. Obviously, there's no way of knowing when they do this. But this is obviously when you then look at the terrorist's diamond again. When you are in spawn, maybe you think to yourself, okay, we've just abused mid against them 5 times in a row. It's possible that they will do a heavy mid fight now, which means instead of them being heavy sides static, which was what your game plan told you and which has been the case during the entire match, you have to understand also that this is not. You cannot say, okay, tomorrow I'm playing against Fnatic. They every round play heavy mid static. No. If you win by abusing their sort of default way of playing, they will adapt, right? And that's when you need to again be sort of the step ahead and understand, okay, we have been doing super many mid splits. Now they probably want to overfight mid. This means now they're going to be heavy mid. Okay, but if they are heavy mid, what are they likely to be, ending up in? Well, I would argue that if their game plan previously was to stack heavy on the sides, I imagine that if they go out and heavy fight mid, right, but they don't see anything, they are going to be extremely reactive and try to go back and block the sides, which is then when some kind of fake would work. That is basically the theory of the terrorist's diamond. And now I've obviously shown it on Mirage. I want to spend a little bit more time on just picking kind of almost any other map. I haven't actually thought it that much through in terms of, every single map. There are some maps where it's kind of easy to visualize, right? Like Mirage, Ancient, Inferno, maps that all have a very clear mid. But on a map like Nuke, for example, I would argue that this is a map where the mid is actually outside, even though it's the side of the map, right? And thinking about yard as a type of mid can make you still apply this terrorist's diamond.
Heavy outside, not mid.
What's right?
For that heavy outside for that map.
Yeah, you could do that, right? But we could actually even. I haven't sort of had the chance to completely think it through and apply it, but I want to just try to do the same on Nuke, right? Oh no, there's something wrong. But basically, if you think of outside as a mid, there are definitely cases of teams playing. I guess on Nuke I would use maybe a little bit different terminology. I guess it is. Let me buy some nades here. There are some teams that play, I guess on Nuke I would kind of say compact, right? So some teams play literally with a hot player and a door player, and then they will also have their rotating AWP playing a lot around heaven, or having the AWP even take some peeks on A. In general, having a very compact setup around the A side. This is probably what I would argue is playing heavy sides. Whereas if you have, your outside player playing aggro out here with your AWP doing flashes, or your AWP running behind red and your rifle doing flashes, or having your AWP starting secret and then having your rifle player play garage holding main or stuff like this. This is an example of a team playing basically heavy mid, what would be heavy outside on Nuke, right? And the same rules apply. Say you have a team where one is playing garage and the AWP is playing secret. if they are a static team, it means that if I try to do... I'm not even sure that I know these nades and this... let me see. Is it like that? Oh, I'm pretty impressed. Okay, so... let's say against a heavy mid reactive team. Maybe what I would like to do here is doing a molo. 2 flashes. And have... oh, now I feel a molo. And everything. But let's say now, when doing this utility combo... I would have my teammates ready to react ramp, because whatever, the AWP who is playing secret immediately runs to vent and tries to go up vent, and the garage player immediately steps towards here, or whoever is playing under heaven holding outside immediately goes up heaven and tries to help A, which gives us space on ramp, right? But it's also possible we play against a team which basically plays heavy outside but plays static, so that when I'm doing, you know, this, whatever, A fake, the better choice for me is actually just going A, because the CTs aren't very, again, reactive. They stay in their setups, meaning that if they have 2 ramp and they hear this util, maybe they will go a little bit closer, but they won't really like full commit to taking the knife and flying up the ladder and trying to go here. Because you have to understand, in Counter-Strike, there are obviously benefits and sort of like detriments to everything. If we have a double ramp setup here, and I'm holding with AWP, and my rifle is in a good position to multi-kill, whatever, maybe here or behind the red box or whatever. If the Ts were to now do an A execute, and they want to go ramp, well, me running here and flying up the ladder and trying to help on A is, you know, detrimental. But in the event that the Ts do the utility and they actually want to go A, then this is the right choice. In the event that the Ts do the utility but want to go ramp, and I'm just standing here because I call their bluff, you know, this is great. But in the event that they want to go ramp and they do the A util and I just charge up the ladder, now it's bad. This is very obvious, right? You don't need me to tell you this. But the reason I'm still telling it to you is because there is no perfect way to play. Like, a team which is reactive majority of the time will be easier, at least that's my argument, to beat if you use fakes. And a team who is more rigid or static or less likely to over-rotate and move, faking against such a team is potentially worse for you. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the idea of the terrorist's diamond. So I hope it kind of makes sense for someone who isn't me. Any questions about this for now?
I was just only wanted to ask, does that apply for every map? But you already answered it, so...
Yeah.
And the other one was, does this applies for face-it pugs for yourself, so you can maybe recognize it faster in a game?
This is a really good question, actually. I think I want to answer the questions in the order you gave them. I just want to give kind of like, because I think now I talked about if they're heavy outside. I guess I didn't talk about on Nuke, what do you do if they are heavy sides, right? So if they're heavy sides static, this kind of, what I said, like playing compact, it's kind of the same as on Mirage. If they play heavy side static, you want to take away the space and use it to split. So doing like a wall of smokes, whatever, and eventually doing like a main smoke, and taking under heaven and using this to make the map smaller for them is like the same as splitting mid on Mirage, essentially. And it will be extremely hard for them to defend if we can, you know, kind of play on A from heaven, from main, and from lobby with multiple players. That's basically like a split, right? And if you play against a heavy sides reactive team, let me see even what was the solution to this. Oh yeah, it was leaving a lurk, right? That is probably when you want to do the wall of smokes, and then maybe you want to leave someone here or leave someone in garage. Then you want to do some kind of small fake, like even this A fake, whatever. Maybe the person who was actually focused on outside is now going closer to A to try and help, and that's when this lurk slips the net and gets into a more advanced position, and can then get a free kill. For Faceit, like you asked, I do think it is useful. That's why I think this theory is great. Like, it's useful to understand what you need to do, but also worth noting that on Faceit this might be harder to, how can I say, perfectly execute, right? So, say you know that they like to play 2 on A, and you found this out by playing whatever, 3 buy rounds or something like that. It's obviously possible for you to say, guys, they play heavy A, let's take mid, and split con or B, right? The same way, if you see that the CTs are just heavy fighting mid with so much util, what is good for you is to just say, guys, let's fake mid and do an A execute or something like this, right? I don't think you should expect to be able to get people to understand the terrorist's diamond in Faceit, but it will help you know what is a good solution. And I think, especially, well, I think the great thing about this theory is just that even for people who have played this game for thousands of hours, I think they have never thought about this so simply. And I think, even some of the top pros have never thought about this so simply. But I do still think it's true. But what is great about it as well is that I think for beginners or your average Joe who only has time to play Counter-Strike a couple of times a week for 2 hours at a time, understanding this concept will elevate your game so much, because you don't really need to understand why it works, you just need to understand how to apply it. You don't need to be able to explain why the diamond works. You don't need to be able to, explain anything. You don't even need to be explaining it to yourself in your mind. You just need to understand, if CTs play in a certain way, you now know the fix. You know what you need to call. You know what you need to do. And legit writing it on a post-it note and hanging it at the bottom of your monitor at the beginning might be, good. Just write it in the short sentences I wrote. Okay, if they are heavy sides, this, then we do this. If they are whatever. That way, you won't forget. And as soon as you start understanding this, it will give you a much better understanding of the game of Counter-Strike as a whole. Again, it won't teach you how to be professional from one day to the other. But it helps simplify things, and it is sort of a blueprint to being able to call better. Even if you don't understand why it's good, I can just tell you, in terms of everything I know with Counter-Strike, this makes sense in my head. I have shared it with some people that agree, and it's something you can use and abuse, both in Team CS and in pugs. So I think it's great.
About Nuke, well, first of all, would you agree that it's the map most oriented towards team play? Because I wanted to ask something.
I want to say it's, at least for me, a definite top 2. I think overpass can be really rough as well, but overpass can sometimes be... I would say Nuke is when it comes to utility, at least the team play based map where it's the most important. Also with CT rotations, but overpass is on the T side so difficult sometimes to actually gain space. So I kind of put those two at the top of my list.
So I'm kind of scared of playing it in pugs,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you what would be the most optimal way to play it in both sides when you're in a pug and you can't really communicate that well with the team.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff.
Another great question. Fantastic.
What role should you take, or at least what would you suggest?
I suggest playing rotation, so like being the player around heaven. It's typically the AWP role, but when I play it in Faceit pugs, I actually like to play it a lot with rifle. Simply because, I mean, I'm very good at Nuke. It's one of my better maps, for sure. I have a really good understanding of this map, and especially when I play with people in pugs, I will have a typically much better understanding of them, because I've played it in a team, and learning Nuke in a pug is more difficult than learning it in a team, because I've obviously had the shared experiences of many professional players on this map. But why I like to play Heaven a lot is you have, ability to help on A, you have ability to help on outside if they don't do a good wall of smokes, and you have ability to rotate down to ramp, and fast. And that's why I prefer playing it with rifle, because if people go fast a rifle here, it's more likely I'm going to be able to multi-kill. With outside, I don't necessarily need to commit to these fights. I can, if I want to. But letting T's go secret can be kind of okay. As long as you, target good. And also, for the most part, T's don't just swing towards secret with no wall of smokes. So, either there will be a wall of smokes where, if I have an AWP, it doesn't really matter that much because they're behind the smokes. And if they don't do wall of smokes, I will at the very least have the info on them. Typically, they won't go down at all. But if this is something that is if they keep running down secret with no smokes, then I will start playing up and I will start punishing that. So I like playing up in Heaven, or I also like, if I have AWP sitting here is good. Because if they try to go secret, this is literally free kills. There are many angles. You can even sit like this with AWP. You can even sit like this with AWP. Hold this line. Super good. It's like a pixel angle where you can see people crossing. And you also can see if they go main. So basically this area is the best to carry in on CT. I think I will just teach you one thing for T side. That I think can elevate your game a lot. Actually, I will teach you a couple of things. Yeah, sorry?
Should you try to IGL more on T side or Nuke? Because, I mean, it's very complicated to play on T side, at least for me in pugs.
Yeah. I think most of the time, IGLing is always good, basically. If you want to do it, if it feels natural for you, I think it's good on any map. On Nuke, I think a lot of the time, as long as you have a wall of smokes that goes down every round, then you can kind of play it default. But without a wall of smokes, it's almost impossible to play it default. I've talked about this before. This is actually the theory that I was missing earlier. Maybe there even is one more. But I had this theory when it started called pressure lines. A great theory to watch if you want to understand Nuke better, because I use Nuke as an example. But basically, if you do this, like blowing the door, and you smoke in front of the door, you are giving yourself so many more opportunities. The same goes for if you do an outside wall of smokes. Doesn't matter if it's like this wall of smokes, or this wall of smokes, or like these two and garage smoke, or whatever the fuck you do. It always gives you more space, basically. And so, as long as you do that pressure, you can kind of play at default. You don't necessarily have to be IGL. But I will say also, it's a struggle for me to play Nuke on both T and CT, because people I played with just have no idea how to play the map. And that's what makes it pretty difficult. This is something I've told also a million times, but a lot of people think that main is a position you can play, and there is no such thing. I've talked about it. I have on my second YouTube channel a video about each position on Nuke and how you should play it. Like, I talk about everything a ramp player has to do and when, sort of. Everything the rotation has to do, everything the hot player has to be able to do, everything the door player has to be able to do, everything the outside player has to be able to do. And if you want to get better on Nuke, I definitely suggest watching that video as well. Main doesn't exist as a position. People who think there is a position called main are kind of stupid. Well, they are not stupid, but they're wrong. I've even heard people argue that main is a position in Faceit, but I think that doesn't make sense either, because, to win a Faceit puck, you should still play as closely as you can to a professional team, because they are the ones who have figured out how to win most effectively. Sorry, I'm going a little bit on a tangent, like a small rant here, but basically just, if you're one of those guys who think main is a position, please go watch my Nuke video, because it isn't, and I think I explained it in that video why. For T-side, this is probably the best thing I can show you for making life hard for CTs without doing much. First of all, there's this wall of smokes. Just get my jump throw bind working. Jump throw forward. So if you get stuck here, and you aim top right of this window, and you do a normal jump throw, and then you go to the third window in the middle and double your jump throw. This is a 2-smoke wall of smokes, which can be really good for pugs. This allows you to go secret without the CT seeing you. You can, whatever, kind of lurk around the smokes if you want. Like, that's obviously up to you. But this is good to know, because you just need someone to drop you one smoke, and this is possible. There is also the Navi wall, which is very simple to remember, so I'm showing you for that reason. You need 3 smokes for this though, and that's why I didn't show it as the first thing. But if you don't even need to be perfectly stuck here. Just don't be up on a step, be down from the step. You aim middle of this lamp, bang, normal jump throw. You aim middle of this lamp, W jump throw. You step back, you do W jump throw between this and this, bang. And this should give you kind of the same, except the smokes are a little bit more to the left, which means it's a little bit more risky for CTs to go through the smokes. Like, playing out here is more risky than with the other wall of smokes, because you had more cover. But this is the number one thing that I want to show you. If you like to play pugs on you, go into here. Don't aim here, but aim here. Normal jump throw. This is the lurk smoke for outside, and it's good for multiple reasons. It makes it so you can like hide from garage and still get up close. You can walk through it and go into main, right? It blocks a lot of information from heaven and from CT outside, and if you can get another smoke dropped, it allows you to do this smoke, which again is super fucking annoying for the CTs to play against. It's blooming and creating a lot of space. But if you go here, you line this blue up with this, and you aim here. You can aim a little bit up for security. You have a smoke that lands as the second smoke in the wall. And there are many ways to do this as well. As long as you do this smoke and you get a smoke dropped, whatever, when this smoke comes over... Oh, I think I threw it a little bit too fast, actually. This probably still even... Ah, fuck it. Let me do the right one here. Let's hope I don't fail it again now. That would be pretty awkward. Okay. So, what I sometimes would do is just... I would jump, check. Okay, they're not out. Whatever, jiggle, maybe garage. And then you can kind of do whatever. You can do it just on feeling. Like, the smoke doesn't have to be 100% perfect for it to be good enough that you can make it into secret. And yeah, having the ability to do this lurk smoke, which makes info gathering on outside for CTs really difficult, but then also having the ability to just kind of like throw a whatever smoke. Like, even if you throw the smoke like this, which is, you know, pretty bad, you still give yourself so much space to work around the smokes. And this is like I think a super good way of creating a lot of chaos and a lot of pressure while playing solo, basically. Even if you don't have anyone wanting to drop you a second smoke, just doing this smoke a lot is creating so much chaos for the CTs, because they can't gain easy info on outside, and it puts more pressure on main. Like, if I can sneak in here and this guy can't hold whatever, if I can go over here and take like good fights against heaven or fights against this or this, it's great. And even if you do this lurk smoke, like, you could potentially also do the smoke here If you want on feeling to use it, take garage and kind of take secret. So much you can do with this smoke. So this is like, yeah, probably my top tip for pugs. I hope that helped a little.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, my guys? And girls, if there are any.
I just have a question to the terrorist diamond
Mm-hmm.
theory. So, I like the theory. I think it's good, but I have like one problem. Not problem, but just one question about it. Like,
Yeah.
for example, let's say we're an official and we know the opponent, and
Yeah.
we know that they obviously like play static mid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you should counter static mid by executing sites, and I believe that makes sense, yeah. But I
Yeah.
feel like at some point they will also adapt. Like when my question here is when should we change it up? Like we can't, or I mean, it doesn't make sense to always exec then, right? Like they will, the enemy team will adapt, and
Yeah.
when is this change of um
Playstyle.
yeah, when should the change be? Like, should we just throw in a default so we kind of reset them and think we're just playing normal again, or should we exec sides until it doesn't work anymore, or like when is the change of speeds? Like,
Yeah.
when should we change?
Yeah. No, I get it. So I think I already touched a little bit on the fact that obviously teams that are good and probably even bad teams will eventually adapt, right? The thought that immediately comes to mind here for me is I guess it's the kind of give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he will eat for a lifetime, or however that goes. Like, I can give you this terrorist's diamond, which is like giving you a fish, and it will definitely help you, but you have to understand yourself how to, so to say, fish. You have to understand how to apply the diamond. It's the same if you call 3 rushes in a row. I can't tell you now, okay, well, the 4th time you rush, they will always stack heavy somewhere, It isn't that simple. Some teams will adapt after 5 rounds, some teams will adapt after 2 rounds, some teams will never adapt. Understanding when for you to switch it up will depend on your read of the game. Like, just like if we simplify it, now we're obviously on Nuke, but let's say, I'll even go on Mirage again. If, let's say, I had anti-strat, let's just say, and I know the A player plays alone, right? If I abuse the A side 3 times, eventually this player, actually, you know what? I have a. let me show you something. I have a super good example of this, and I think I can kind of leak this anti that I had, because I had a very good read on a certain team. We did win the map also. So I had some anti-strat on big. They've kind of fixed it now. I'm not even sure if they're fully aware, but otherwise I will give it to them now. Paulie never Molotovs A main early. It doesn't happen at all, ever in Byron's. So our anti-strat was, okay, first Byron, we know she doesn't Molo, we rush A full with 5, right? You see it here, she keeps her Molo, and now
We can't see it.
You can't see it. Okay, perfect. I knew that, by the way. I just didn't want to show you guys.
Just tested
Thank you for
us.
letting me know.
Yeah.
Yes, just tested you. Okay, so basically we had a read. I had some anti that Paulie, who's the A player on Anubis, she never Molotovs for whatever reason, and I wrote it also, like before the match even. I said, we can abuse this so hard and it will just be 3 rounds. So in the first buy round, our game plan was, we're gonna abuse this on her, and you see she doesn't use her Molotov, which is why it's free for us to do this. Now she plays pillar. Now we run in, good execute. She gets 1, she gets traded. Round does get a little hectic, but the CTs end up playing behind all the util. We own them. we win with 3 alive and they are 2, right? And then you would say, okay, maybe they will adapt to this, right? But we don't know when they will adapt to this. So a few buy rounds later, we abuse it again because we know she did Molotov, which means that our anti is correct. And now the question is, does she adapt, right? We assume that since we only did it one time, they don't know if it's anti or not. If they would know that we picked that round specifically because of something they were doing, they would do something different, right? She would start Molotoving. But we assume at this moment they don't know it, so we just do it again in a little bit later round. And here, I think she does actually adapt with using her Molotov. But we don't know this at this point, because, you know. So now she does Molotov, they're actually 2A as well. But we just go through it, and we end up killing them both. And we end up winning another round off of this same read, basically. And, okay, we saw her adapt. But we can never know. I think we do it one more time. I think in the last round we do it. No, it's this round, I think. So here, she actually again doesn't Molotov. And now, okay, she falls back and Molotov's late. But now, yeah, she actually even gets 2 kills. Yeah, and believe it or not, we actually win this round as well. Because Anna does a 1-on-4. Like, super sick. Just basically kills everyone. I think she even kills her in the back here. Yeah, and wins the 1-4. So, you know, I cannot tell you when teams you play against will adapt, right? And I also cannot tell in a match like this, you know, we abused it. But the only way that Paulie here will adapt to using her Molotov early on A, which was the kind of thing we abused on her, will be if she realizes herself what her issue is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at this moment, she hadn't realized what her issue is. Funnily enough, because we then played her, or like them, just a couple of days later on the same map, and it was yesterday. If we go through the rounds, like, I don't think we will click through them all. Shout out Big, by the way, because it's their stream. But basically, when we go through the buy rounds, you will see that now she is pre-Molotoving A, so she learned something. I think, at least. Like, now, she takes her Molo, and she, even though we're not rushing, I think she comes and pre-Molos A. You see? We actually wanted to rush here, and we do actually, I think, also die to it now. So this is her, you know, adapting. But it only happened the match after. It's kind of whatever at this point. But you can see it here, another round. 144, she pre-Molos A. So she has done this adaptation, but it's like, yeah, I get why you ask it. I have this other story. Just, I played with Cyclone, who is obviously now a fantastic coach from Mouse. We played Cobblestone.
Cyclone.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing. But this is one of my favorite stories to tell. This was super early days, like 2015, 2016. You know, we are kids, basically. Like, we are coming up, and I think it was actually right around the time when NIP brought out this wall of smokes on Cobblestone. We were playing Cobble, where you could like smoke it from spawn almost while running, and you could just rush B, and there was almost nothing the siege could do to it. So we did this strat, and then the next round he called it again, and then the next round he called it again, and then maybe it was the 4th or the 5th time when he calls this, and I tell him, like, Cyclone, isn't it gonna be pretty obvious that we're gonna do the same thing that we've just been doing 4 times, right? And then he says, yeah, but they are also thinking that. Like, they are also thinking we are not stupid enough to do the same that many times in a row, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so tricky. Like, also, I'll just tell you as a full fact right now. Maybe I can even show this just as a last sort of proof. I'll just click in on a random player here. The last 3 Mirage we played before we played Big, we did the same T-pistol 3 times in a row, which was my decision. Okay, I don't really know why this is not working, but trust me on this. We did just the Facet pistol, the B contact on Raj. The first time we did it because it was good. The second time we did it because I thought it would be good because they would not expect us to do the same thing 2 times in a row. And then after we had done it 2 times, we had actually the biggest match against Pigeons, which is the world's #1, and we did it again because they expect us to be smarter than calling the same pistol round 3 times in a row. You know, that stuff comes down completely to mind games, and that's why, yeah, I think I've explained it kind of enough now. But it's just I can't give you an answer on when you have to change it up because it's down to your opponents, it's down to the day, it's down to so many things, basically.
Sorry, I'm a bit sick, but
That's fine.
so kind of you might have already answered this, but the question I had is like, how do you, sorry,
No, it's
how do
fine.
you how do you like what round or what time in the game should you identify the enemy team's habit? I'm asking this because I kind of already know it, but I think it's if you have anything to add on to it, or it could just be like useful information for everyone else here as well.
So just because I feel like maybe the music in my game was too loud, so you said, when do I identify that teams have anti on us, or was it just
no? Sorry.
identify what?
Like at what point in the game, like how many rounds in should you should have identified the enemy team's habits?
Oh, habits. Okay, sorry. So yeah, that's the word that I kept missing. Okay. Well, that's also kind of, again, I would even say I've played a million matches where the enemies have played in a certain pattern and it hasn't hit me until after the match. I think, especially now that halves are 12 rounds, you get how many buy rounds? Like 4 buy rounds or something like that. And teams play different. At least good teams play different in terms of how they play against low money and how they play against full money. So anti-stratting is worth a lot right now, I think, because you don't have time maybe to even find out their habits during a match. Obviously, if there's something obvious you see, you should say it. Or I think you can do it from like a individual, like if I'm the A player on Mirage, for example, on T, and I hear the CT never pre-Molotovs A, that's a habit where then I can tell my IGL, they never pre-Molotov on A, we can just do an A rush, whatever, right? But in terms of their habits from like a team perspective, that's more difficult and will definitely maybe be something you only know after 6 rounds or something,
Yeah, because for pugs, I have like written down from the previous coaching session, like 5 rounds, so you're excluding pistol and second round, and then you have 3 rifle rounds to figure out someone's habits. But I don't know, like for teams, because teams are more serious and they're anti-stratting and they trust each other.
Yeah, no, I mean, what I said was 6 rounds. I think that's kind of fair. Also, when we played against, that was against Guild in Impact, we got behind, 0-6 on the CT side, and then I took a timeout, and I said to the girls, like, okay, this will be the last timeout I take. I only have to tell you one thing on CT. You have to do this, this, and this, and do this, this, and this. Actually, it was really simple. I think I talked about it in the previous Gosu Academy session. But basically, I just said, okay, instead of fighting them early round, we need to fight them at a later time in the round, stuff like this. And then we won 6 rounds in a row. And that was like when it hit me, like, oh, we're doing it all wrong because they play like this, So,
I think
yeah.
I remember that session, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, I don't think there's like a 100% answer to this question either, but I think what it is just that, that half of the half, like 6 rounds, I would say, then you have a pretty good inkling of how they play, right? But then, even if you have a good understanding of how they play, they can adapt. That's what good players do, right? So, the same, you saw it here. I mean, Paulie was not able to understand what we were doing to abuse her in this match until after the match, which might indicate that also they didn't understand what was going on until after the match, right? And that's why we could abuse that against them. But also, no offense to Paulie, right? But if she was a tier 1 player, it's possible that she wouldn't have this obvious of a anti in the first place. But it's also more likely she would adapt mid-game when she's randomly been rushed, in 2 buy rounds, that she will come up with some solutions to destroy exactly that. Like maybe, I don't want to give her too many hints because she has to do the work on her own, but like maybe she should try Molotoving and holding a nade that bounces off the wall that goes into the Molo, so that as we turn off the Molo on our rush, we eat an HE, and then she can even use her smoke to block, for example. That would win her the round, in my opinion. But yeah, that's kind of the perfect scenario, right? Things are not easy.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I hope it helped. I think we got time for either one question that needs a long answer or 2 questions that need a short answer. So if anyone's got one or 2.
I guess a short answer question. It's kind of more general, but I think obviously I can improve more still, but I think I reached a plateau where I can't understand what my flows are anymore, and I can't focus on any one flow this way.
Mm-hmm.
How would I go about improving if I can't really see where I'm doing wrong?
Oh, that's also a really good question. And it's fucking tough. That's one of the hardest things when you play pro and stuff, is like you get really good at things and you it's hard to see where that improvement can come from. Having gone through that process myself, I think in a way it is like play with people who are also good and who can give you the feedback that you're maybe missing yourself, Like, I've played with a ton of good players, and also there's a ton of good, players that are giving me feedback, but sometimes it's something that I would argue is not true, or sometimes, like, how can I say, for example, I got told many times towards the later stage of my career that I was not being selfish enough, and that's something where it's hard, like to notice yourself. So definitely rely on others to give you that feedback. But the other thing I want to say is stop focusing so much on finding one specific key area that you need to train. So long as you keep trying to improve on every area, even though, because I know how it is, you stop seeing the improvement because it's not as obvious anymore, right? It's the same as if you go to the gym. I've used the gym as an example for so many things in CS, but like if you go to the gym for a couple of weeks, your arms are gonna fucking grow like mad at the beginning. But if you've been lifting for a year and you take the difference between 1 year and 1 year and 2 weeks, the difference is basically invisible. But there is an improvement, and if you keep working on all your flaws and stuff like that, there will be an improvement. It just will be less visual, You probably are improving every day without even knowing it. But it is tough.
I should just keep playing more and not focus on anything specific.
Yeah, if you get feedback from someone, like let's say you play in a team or something like this, and someone says to you, you always do this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you can focus a little bit extra on that. I would say don't have the mindset of just keep playing, but have the mindset, that it's like, instead of having a super centralized focus, maybe you can have a more broader vision, right? So like, if you throw a bad flash, maybe you're like, oh fuck, why did I throw that bad flash? How can I throw it next time, Then it doesn't have to always be about flashes. Maybe next time it's, when I play this clutch, I should have done this and stuff. But I think too many people just play Counter-Strike. But to actually improve at Counter-Strike, you have to play, and you also have to, work on it, right? I had the session about like the mental game of Counter-Strike, or mentality in Counter-Strike, something is also on my second channel. And in this, I talk about how, there's a difference between the people who get good at the game and people who don't. This, growth mindset, stuff like this, constantly trying to figure out, what could I have done better, or something like this, is one of the best things you can do for yourself.
You think I would benefit from a demo review from someone more skilled than me?
Probably yes. Not everyone has a super. How can I say? There are some people who are just, on average, very good. Like, for example, Mia, like AIM, from the team I'm coaching right now. I keep wanting to tell her what to improve on, but I don't really feel like there is one obvious thing that she's doing wrong. Like, I think she is a good player as well. That helps, right? But there are definitely small things that she makes mistakes. Like, she does small things wrong maybe more often than the average person, let's say, because she's not perfect and no one is. Whereas there will be other players on my team who don't make very many small mistakes, but when they make mistakes, they are very big and very obvious, right? And that can also sometimes come down to role. So it's possible you get a demo review from someone and they won't give you that big glaring weakness that you're looking for, but definitely a demo review, they can still tell you some of the smaller things you're doing wrong,
Yes, for most of the things I can identify myself, but as you said, it's difficult to see improvement now. That become better than when I started, and I started seeing improvement that was much more obvious. Now it's subtle, so I don't have the feedback, But yeah, thank you for the answer.
I think also just one last thing is, some players that are in my elo, they are all aim and no brain, basically. And there are also some players where I would even characterize myself. I don't think I'm a particularly amazing aimer, but I think a lot about the game, and I understand the game at a high level. And if it's possible to reach really high elo by just being a really strong aimer and being good at taking duels, then you can become that. But if you have a insane aim and stuff like that, but you're being caught out on not getting good duels or something like this, then that's what you should work on. I always think of it like this: if I'm not, if I would play against a guy who has aimbot, he would definitely aim better than me, and that means there's always room for improvement. No matter, on the days where I feel like I'm the most insane aimer ever, there will always be someone who's probably better than me. The same with game sense. I think of it like this, that if I had radar hack or if I had wall hack or something like this, I could always outplay my opponent. And you can obviously not have perfect read of the game, but that's what you have to like strive to get, right? Someone like Saiwu or something like this, sometimes it looks like he's cheating just because he's so fucking smart. And as long as there are people out there like that, then there is room for improvement on both aim and game sense.
Okay, thank you. And let's pick other people now, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. But I hope it helped also. If someone's got a quick question, then we got time for that. Otherwise, I think it's time, my friends. It can also be a big question, but then I'll just give a short answer.
My thing is still the same thing I've been struggling with for a long time. It's just like I just feel lost a lot of the times when I'm entering a site on T side. I just feel overwhelmed and lost consistently. With like, I don't know if it's. I mean, I even if like say I come through ramp on Mirage, I take one down on site. I'm from CT. Then I know that technically I should be looking jungle wherever, but I still feel like, especially on solo queues, they can play any, like, especially at lower rank. Like, yes, the next person should be jungle, they should be stairs, wherever, but they might not be. And a lot of times I don't check. They are in under palace or something and kill me. I just feel lost, like, so often.
I got three quick fire things I will say to that. One of them is that if you get the entry on A, there's always the chance to use your utility to put yourself in a better spot. Like, say you kill someone on A Mirage, maybe you can smoke off bench, and then Molotov Shadow. That gives you way more time to clear sandwich, for example, without throwing away the entry you just gained, basically. On top of this, I guess I'm still streaming my... Yes, I am. Let me do this real quick. I've had this... wait a second, let me open a new YouTube. I think I have this, like, entry fragging video that I made together with a company called
Hello,
Play.
guys.
Holy shit, that was a little bit loud. But I think this one is actually super good. It's probably one of my best role-specific videos ever. 20 minutes of me just talking about how to entry frag. And I think it might teach you something, I hope. And then also the last thing I want to say is, and this is also one of those things that sounds kind of stupid when I say it, but even when I was basically pro, there was this other player, probably some of you know him, his name was Mertz.
Right.
Yeah, not the Rocket League player, but but he was really, really good. Yeah, this guy. And, he was kind of the opposite of me. I was pretty passive op, and he was like a really aggressive op, taking a lot of fights and stuff like this. And I remember I asked him, because I'd watched some of his highlights, and I was, at this point, professional probably as well. And I asked him, like, how the hell can you do these, like, aggro plays with op? Like, how is it even possible? And it's so stupid, but what he just told me was, well, to play aggressively, it's not hard. All you need to understand is just where the rotation is coming from. And yeah, I think in your case, it's like, I don't know if it helps you, but you can think of it like that maybe. That if you get the kill on Mirage, it doesn't really matter that much with anything else. All you gotta understand is, if you kill the A player, where's the con player? In the case where he's hiding Shadow or Sandwich or something like this is obviously hard, but I think for entry fragging that can sometimes be pretty valuable, knowing that if I kill this guy, where is the closest player and how is he going to play to fill up that gap that I've created with my kill,
Yeah, I think it's just I don't like playing entry. I've just had to pick it up because I feel like sometimes if I don't entry, then no one fucking will. Sometimes on solo queue, so it's like So I've got by queuing with friends, and, like, not entering, and now I'm at level 8, but like I'm not playing with the same friends anymore. A lot of them are busy and stuff, so now I'm having to pick up entering, and it's just like I'm a bit lost on to do a bit. So I'll watch the video you said.
Yeah, I recommend that. I think entry fragging is one of the most difficult jobs in pugs, because you will die a lot and it sucks, but someone has to do it. There are also games I play at high elo, overpass for example, where I feel like my teammates are just too slow, and because they are so slow, I end up doing more than I should, and then I die because of it. So I think also you gotta just understand it's hard to be the entry fragger in a pug. I guess what I will just say, I remember entry fragging used to be so bad, and entry fraggers used to be guys who always had bad stats. The more refined Counter-Strike becomes, in a way, the more entry fraggers can also have impact. I remember back in the day, like Tapson had good stats whilst kind of being the entry fragger on big. And the idea there that I heard from other professional players is that, entry fragging is not bad as long as you get to go with the utility. But in a puck, there will be no one throwing utility for you, especially if you're playing at a lower level, and then interfragging is just rough.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll watch the video.
Yep.
Cheers.
Yeah, no problem. I hope it helps. Otherwise, just come back to me,
Yeah,
and we could definitely do like an entry fragger session here at the Gosu Academy as well, if that's interesting to people. So,
No worries.
yes, but all right, guys. I think that's it for me. I need to.
Can I quickly ask you?
Yeah.
Just not about the lesson, but
Mhm.
about the demo review section here in the Discord.
Yeah.
The demos that are getting sent in the channel, are they being reviewed? And if yes, like where can you find the reviews?
That I don't actually have the answer to, but I can ask someone who's more knowledgeable than me on this. I don't. I've done a couple of demo reviews, but I've never used that channel. I know there are some of the coaches. I don't think that I kind of offer this right now, but yeah, okay. Someone else has the answer, maybe.
It's Sebi and Scorch that normally does them.
Yeah.
Whenever they do their classes, and they upload the sessions on a website, but I can't remember what it's called.
Is it called Game Plan or something like
Yeah,
that?
is it on Game
Yeah,
Plan?
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So all the demos are being looked at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, man.
Yes. Well, they'll look through. They'll pick it out, and if the players, obviously, because it's like a sort of one-on-one coaching session, if they're in the channel, then they'll do the demo review. If they're missing that session, then it'll kind of get thrown to the back of the pile type of thing.
Okay.
They obviously focus on the people that are there wanting, or they're in the class rather than people that aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, man.
Perfect.
On
Good that
top
someone
of
else
that,
had the answer.
I've got
Yes.
a quick question as well, which
Yeah.
is like again, it's on to the class. Do you do like private coaching sessions, or is it just do you just do Gosu Academy?
Well, I used to do quite a lot of private coaching sessions, and I do still offer them. Like, there's probably a little bit more info on my Twitch channel about that. The thing is just because I have a pretty big workload, like balancing streaming and Gosu Academy and NIP and having meetings and stuff. Yeah. I'm harder to find a time with, but as long as you guys don't hold it against me, I typically find, space for it eventually. I just sometimes it has to be scheduled 2 weeks in advance, Like, but as long as you guys have the patience for that, I'm able to book. I think I'll have a session with a guy Sunday. So yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. Because I was gonna ask if I could like DM you or
Yeah.
something if I can get like a private coaching session.
Yeah, we could definitely look into that, my friend. Yes.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Well, guys, I definitely need a. I need a go because I've had a long day with streaming and working and this also, and a meeting this morning. But I really, as always, appreciate you all for coming out. I hope that you enjoyed this new theory. I think these are always, to me, the most interesting because this is where I can safely say no other YouTuber has ever talked about this, and because of this, you guys are learning something new, or at least getting a new perspective. So that's why I think it's cool. So thank you all, and thank you to everyone who watched the YouTube videos as well. That means a lot. And again, there's a link in the YouTube description for a 1-month trial of Gosu Academy. If you don't like it here, you can get your money back. So don't worry.